The mic is off.
Yeah.
Proficient in hand-to-hand combat.
How many more of these do we have today?
Is that popcorn still here?
You love popcorn.
My butt's getting really big lately, so.
I have a variety of helmets.
This guy sucks.
Excuse me? Am I supposed to be able to hear you guys?
Excuse me?
You were talking about your butt and stuff. And also you said that I suck.
It is not funny.
You know what we're doing here? Stomping on John Cena's face.
Peacemaker. Season 2. This is my day 1.
It's the first day.
Delete that part. I want no evidence.
Here we go.
It's nice to see everybody again. I didn't know where I was or who I was. Tell the story wrong. Yeah.
That's the boss talking.
It's all real cash. We trust our crew.
Let me show you what you got going on.
I want my agent. I need a bigger trailer. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
A lot of big fights.
This is gonna be bananas.
This is my favorite day of a shooting in my life.
You ready for the next adventure?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. James Gunn dropped a brand new Peacemaker Season 2 trailer. There's even more Superman Easter eggs and crossover characters just because it is coming out right after the Superman movie. It's meant to take place directly after, and it sounds like a lot of the Superman characters will show up during Peacemaker, like all these Justice League, Justice Gang characters, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Maxwell Lord, played by his brother, Sean Gunn. They also said there's going to be a very big cameo scene, so my assumption is that David Corenswet Superman will actually show up at some point during the season, because what bigger Superman reference could you have after doing all these other Superman references? Just imagine Peacemaker making all these Superman jokes during the season, and then all of a sudden Superman shows up right in front of his face. How is he going to react? There are also a lot of details that he confirmed about the characters, what's going on during Superman and during Peacemaker Season 2. So we'll talk about all that stuff during the video. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos.
It's all real cash. We trust our crew.
Of course, I will do episode videos for Peacemaker Season 2 just like I did for Season 1. What'll probably wind up happening is I'll be mostly focused with doing Superman stuff during the month of July. Then we'll move into Peacemaker stuff because that's happening in August. But one of the first big details is actually how they get to the whole Justice League of it all. So the whole idea is that Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific are actually called the Justice Gang in the Superman movie. But what they've clarified is that it's actually Superman himself who comes up with that name. So the idea is they release this book with a bunch of tie-in material clarifying what's going on with some of the characters. Like Lex's troops are called Raptors. There's Yeti, like snowmen around the Fortress of Solitude that Krypto likes to chase around. But also it says that during the events of the Superman movie, their team that's funded by Maxwell Lord, like they'll have his company logo on their chest, that's what the JG looking symbol is for. It's actually Maxwell Lord's company logo. Their team isn't supposed to have a name when the movie actually begins. Superman works with them sometimes, it says, but he's partial to the name Justice Gang, like Superman calls them the Justice Gang. So it sounds like it's just creating more backstory for Superman to eventually create the Justice League. Like, you know what? Justice Gang. I'm going to call you guys the Justice Gang. And I'll remember that because that name's pretty cool. Maybe I'll use that for some other future team at some point. When it comes to actual full-blown Justice League, James Gunn said that it does not exist, or it's not even close to existing during the events of the Superman movie. Eventually, once we meet this universe, this DCEU version of Batman, James Gunn introduces him, Wonder Woman, the other like real big characters that he plans on putting on that team, then they'll come together because of some big universe-threatening problem. The way he's talked about it, based on the timeline of when all the movies that he's planning right now are coming out, he said that that's currently about 4 or 5 years away from right now, from this year. But in addition to all these Justice League characters during what seems like it's going to be mostly episode 1, I'll explain what's going on during this scene too. James Gunn talked a lot about this. Look at some of the other scenes with Rick Flag Sr. You actually see Otis from the Superman movie standing behind him too. This is Otis based on Otis from the original Superman Christopher Reeve movie. Not totally clear what he's doing during Peacemaker Season 2 or what Lex Luthor is doing during the events of this, because remember, it's taking place right after the Superman movie, so Otis is going to be a big character during the Superman movie with Lex Luthor. My assumption, the fact that he's with Rick Flag Sr., that has something to do with Argus, maybe like some larger problem that's going on in the background that Argus is dealing with, and that's how Lex Luthor is tied to what's happening during Peacemaker Season 2.
Superman.
But it does raise a couple questions about what's going to happen to Lex Luthor at the end of the Superman movie, because obviously we all expect Superman to be victorious. It seems like eventually he's going to reveal that Lex Luthor has done all this really shady, illegal stuff. So either Lex Luthor winds up going to prison, or they threaten that he just gets arrested at the end of the Superman movie. But people like that, people like Lex Luthor, do not stay in prison for a long time. The way that James Gunn explains this Justice League scene is that a certain amount of time has gone by since the events of Season 1. He didn't reveal exactly how much time, just because it's a little bit easier to make things connect when you're not really nailing stuff down to exact dates. But a little while after the end of Peacemaker Season 1 and the events of the Superman movie, Peacemaker thinks he's hot shit for saving the world, so he wants to be on an upgraded team, like a more badass team. So he tries to join their team, and the whole joke here is that they think he's total crap. Spends what seems like a lot of Episode 1 just making fun of him. So I think the idea is that their characters are just in Episode 1, maybe like some references later in the series, but for the most part, this is an Episode 1 kind of scene. The whole quantum unfolding space with him walking into the other universe also seems like an Episode 1 kind of twist that might spill into Episode 2. But he said this is going to get into sort of the idea of the transition from the DCEU continuity during Season 1 to the DCU stuff that's happening during Season 2. Like they sort of dig into that in a funny Peacemaker kind of way. What seems like happens based on the footage is that he uses his father's quantum unfolding space to walk through a door into another universe, and he walks into Peacemaker's life in that universe, and that version of Peacemaker in the other universe seems like he's just doing way, way better. Like he has a way bigger house, way nicer stuff, and it seems like he actually joined his father in that universe, Red Dragon, who is now Blue Dragon. Maybe that's a Republican-Democrat flip joke. Like in the other universe, even though he's still evil, like he's still a Red Dragon character from the comics or based on that, he's a Democrat, and that's why he's blue. In one of the other big reveals, too, you actually see this later in the trailer, this character that's flying through the air and destroys the helicopter isn't meant to be that evil version of Superman, the Ultraman from the Superman trailer. A lot of people were confused by this. This character is actually an adult version of his brother who did not die in this universe and survived to adulthood and became a supervillain with that universe's version of Peacemaker and his father, Red Dragon. So it seems like at some point, whenever he's dealing with this other universe, he actually encounters the other universe version of his father and brother and has to fight them.
Who the f*** are you?
Notice you also see him bloody inside the quantum unfolding space, and the other version of Peacemaker seems like he has him dead to rights in that quantum unfolding space. So it almost seems like the other universe threatens to take over the quantum unfolding space, like he's going to make things just really, really bad if he doesn't deal with this. When it actually comes to Rick Flag Sr., the whole Argus subplot, they explained that during the events of the movie, because of what happened during Peacemaker Season 1 and it's still being canon, Amanda Waller was basically fired by the US government and isn't running Argus anymore. Rick Flag Sr. has taken over Argus, and he has a vendetta against Peacemaker for killing his son during the events of the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie that happened while it was still in the DCEU. So like we're talking about more crossover between universes here. As part of the Argus subplot, there are a couple new characters introducing, including Tim Meadows, who's playing Langston Fury, who is somebody they created for the series. He's not a comic book character. James Gunn said that his character arc is basically replacing the Peacemaker arc from Season 1, where he went from being a douchebag to being a nice person. That's basically what happens with Langston Fury's character, which is why they have all those jokes in the trailer of him being super inappropriate, just calling his team members by a bunch of inappropriate names. You also probably recognize Saul Rodriguez playing Sasha Bordeaux, another Argus character. Then they finally revealed what's going on with Michael Rooker's character. So he's actually playing a character called Red Saint Wild, who's a villain trying to kill Eagly. He's like Eagly's big nemesis during the season. James Gunn said that Eagly was so popular as a character during Season 1, he actually used him in a small cameo scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So a little bit of a Marvel DC crossover when Rocket went to save all those other raccoons in the cages at the High Evolutionary's base. But when it came time to do Peacemaker Season 2, he basically gave Eagly his entire own subplot story. So Eagly has this whole subplot during the season where he's fighting against Red Saint Wild, who just spends the entire season trying to kill him. But it does seem like his Red Saint Wild character is either a metahuman or he can use magic. Probably mostly going to be using that stuff for like WTF comedy. There's a big Foxy Shazam concert at the end of the trailer too. They're an actual real live band. Peacemaker might just be a fan of theirs and that's why they're at the concert. They might also be using some of their music during the series itself, because James Gunn does do a lot of stuff like that. There's also a lot of music Easter eggs in general just because Peacemaker is such a fan of hair metal and old bands. For example, there's the running Easter egg of the Mighty Crabjoys band. He runs across their billboard during the Peacemaker trailers, but there's also a Mighty Crabjoys poster inside Superman's bedroom on the Kent farm in Smallville during the Superman movie. So Superman is also a Mighty Crabjoys fan, and the band was also featured in an Easter egg during the Creature Commandos series before that too. They're basically an Easter egg for the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. Maybe he's just a big Mighty Mighty Bosstones fan in real life, and that's why you keep seeing them show up in all these different Easter eggs across the movies and TV shows.
This is my favorite day of around shooting in my life.
There's a bunch of stuff going on during this too, like this seems like a white Martian in the background too, just sitting in this chair. Not really sure what's going on here. You can let me know, do you actually think this is a white Martian, or do you think it's another type of character? We'll probably get some more trailers for this in the next couple months, but most of their attention in the next couple of months will be focused on setting up the Superman movie, so just expect way more Superman footage in general. There's still a ton of questions about what's happening during that movie, so I will do more videos as we learn more stuff. They're still working on that Green Lantern HBO series, so I'm not expecting a trailer for that till much later this year, but we'll probably eventually see some footage from that. Everybody click here for all my brand new Superman trailer videos and footage, and click here to learn about what's going on with that new Green Lantern HBO series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.